All right, let's talk about Michael Jordan. But we're not just going to run through the highlights, no. We're going to deconstruct the legend, piece by piece, to really understand the moments of failure and strategy that turned a basketball player into a true global icon.
This quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of MJ. Before the championships, before the sneakers, there was just this raw, psychological fire. It wasn't just about winning for him. It was about making his opponents feel like defeat was a certainty. That's the engine we're looking at today.
So that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How did one guy completely change the definition of a superstar, not just in the game, but outside of it too? This isn't just a biography. We're looking at his career as a series of major challenges and the incredible ways he responded to them that didn't just win games, but changed everything.
And that first challenge, the thing that really lit that competitive fire, it started way before the NBA. It was forged in rejection, right in his own backyard and his high school gym.
This is where it all began. Those insane backyard games against his older, stronger brother Larry, they weren't just fun. They literally hardwired a belief into his brain. If you want to get better, you have to find someone better than you, and you have to beat them. That was his first blueprint for greatness.
And then came this moment, the story that's become a legend all on its own. As a sophomore in high school, Michael Jordan gets cut from the varsity team. And to make it even worse, his buddy, Leroy Smith, actually makes the team. For Jordan, this wasn't just a setback. It was like a public announcement that he just wasn't good enough. So how do you respond? Did he just practice more? No. He weaponized that rejection. He turned every single junior varsity game into a personal revenge tour, dropping over 40 points a game sometimes. He made the JV team the must-see event in town. He basically made sure that coach would never, ever forget his name. So that fire carries him into the NBA, and he's an instant superstar. But then he hits a wall. A physical, brutal, punishing wall known as the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons created an entire defensive philosophy just for him, the famous Jordan rules. And the goal wasn't just to stop him, it was to hurt him. Every time he drove to the lane, they would physically punish him. And for 3 straight years, it worked. The Bulls went home, and Jordan's individual greatness just wasn't enough. So, facing this huge obstacle, Jordan and the Bulls knew something had to change. They couldn't just keep running into that wall. The answer came in 2 parts. They had to rebuild his body, and they had to rebuild their entire system.
First step, the body. Jordan hired a trainer named Tim Grover, who wasn't very well known at the time. Now you have to remember, back then most basketball players stayed away from heavy weightlifting. They were afraid it would mess up their shot. Jordan, though, he committed 100% to a brutal strength program to build real functional muscle.
And the result was a total physical transformation. Jordan packed on 15 pounds of pure muscle. He went from being this high-flying skinny guard to a powerful force who could take the punishment and give it right back. And the results in the court? Crystal clear. In 1991, this stronger, more durable Jordan led the Bulls to finally sweep the Pistons and end their reign.
But just being stronger wasn't the whole answer. The second part was all about strategy. Coach Phil Jackson brought in the triangle offense, which was a huge shift. It moved them away from the just give the ball to Michael strategy to a system where all 5 players were constantly moving and were all a threat.
And at first, Jordan hated it. I mean, this quote tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. He was the best scorer in the world, and now he was being asked to give up the ball and trust his teammates more. It was a massive mental hurdle, but eventually, he bought in.
Okay, so he conquers the league on the court, but his next big challenge would completely revolutionize the entire business of sports. He didn't just want to endorse products, he wanted to become the product. Back in the early 80s, shoe deals were for whole teams, but Jordan's agent David Falk, he had this crazy idea. He wanted to market Jordan not just as a basketball player, but as his own individual brand, kind of like a tennis star, with his very own line of shoes and clothes. In the NBA, this was completely unheard of.
So Nike, who was actually struggling in the basketball world back then, took a huge gamble on him. They projected about $3 million in sales for the first Air Jordans. Instead, they sold $126 million worth. It was fueled by this genius marketing plan around the NBA banning the shoes. It wasn't just a success, it was a cultural explosion.
And the change was massive. Sports marketing completely shifted from selling a shoe based on its performance to selling a story, a personality, a cultural symbol. He created this brand within a brand model that basically every major athlete since, from Tiger Woods to Lionel Messi, has copied. Jordan wrote the playbook.
So all of this success, on the court and off of it, it all leads to the final debate, right? His legacy. His place in that pantheon of sports gods as the greatest of all time.
And his influence didn't just stop at retirement. He completely changed what an athlete could do in the business world. He became the first ex-player to be a majority owner of an NBA team, turning a $275 million investment into a $3 billion sale. On top of that, he's moved into NASCAR ownership and become a huge philanthropist, making record-breaking donations like his $10 million to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
But you know, when we talk about the GOAT debate, the argument for Jordan always comes back to this one absolutely staggering fact: peak, flawless dominance. When the lights were the brightest in the NBA Finals, he was perfect. 6 times he went, 6 times he won the championship, 6 times he was named Finals MVP. He never even let a series go to a Game 7.
And look, the debate between him and LeBron James is going to rage on forever, right? But the argument for Jordan often boils down to the numbers from his absolute peak. He's got more championships, more Finals MVPs, a mind-blowing 10 scoring titles to LeBron's 1, and almost double the number of all defensive first-team selections.
Which really just leaves us with this final thought. Was Michael Jordan the greatest because of his perfect record and his insane stats? Or was it because he went beyond the numbers and fundamentally changed the culture, the economics, and the global reach of sports itself? You know, maybe the truest sign of his greatness is that he forces us to ask the question,